Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to PixelLit and... Oh, God, this book.
Fuck. Kevin. Oh, God, thank God you're here. I just had this horrible dream that I was playing... I went to play Dead Space, and I started playing it, and instead of fighting monsters and being creeped out and scared and taking in the majesty of the darkest depths of space and the unknown, I was forced to read a couple hundred pages that read like a technical pamphlet on how to install the dishwasher.
Oh, I'm sorry to say, Phil, that's exactly what you did, because we're reading Dead Space Martyr.
Curses! Oh my God, this book's so boring. Oh my God.
It's so boring.
It's just getting to a point where you're like, why is this happening? What? Did they play the game?
Yeah.
Like every now and then they'll do something and you'll go, okay, I recognize that reference. You know what the game's about, right?
B.K. Evenson, whatever the hell your name is. You're a well-respected person, but gosh darn it, you really whiffed on this book.
This is just not great so far. Yeah, so let's get into it.
All right, so we left off going into part 3, which is titled The Noose Tightens, but I would say that is it's a poor title because that implies something interesting happened.
Yeah, the Noose Tightens sounds exciting. It sounds like, spooky and edgy, and someone's going to get hurt. And don't get me wrong, people do get hurt, but it's mostly me and Kevin.
It's me and Phil, and nobody else you really care about.
And nobody else, yeah. No one that you, our beloved listeners, know anything about. So fuck them.
Yeah. Some of them are going to be named after Irish beverage, like Hennessy. Actually, he's already dead.
One of them will be named after a meat, not bacon, but Hammond. Oh, but he's already dead.
He's already dead. And Dantec, he's dead too.
Which sounds like a fucking startup. Like just no one gets your emails like Dan does. Dantec.
Dantec.
Ding. Download our free app today.
We're in chapter 22 because there's been 22 chapters in like 5 pages. Yep. Where Tanner and the Colonel are talking, it really doesn't matter what they're talking about. They're just looking at the footage. And I highlighted this passage. I don't even know why I highlighted it anymore. I think I just highlighted it because it was just like, what the fuck? I highlighted this passage in the middle of the chapter, which, when I say middle of the chapter, I mean it's the second clause of a sentence.
Oh my God, I hope to God that you highlighted the same thing I did. Hit it.
Tanner circled portions of the image on his monitor. You can see here and there are bits of hair. It's caked in blood, but we're reasonably certain it's hair. Ah, yes, said the Colonel. Now I see. Hennessy was bald, Tanner said simply. The Colonel leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. What happened, he asked. Tanner shrugged. Something went wrong, he said. Beyond that, I can't say. And I just read that exchange and I'm like, what am I reading?
What the fuck is this? It's like a football play-by-play. Like what they're for those at home, what they're asking about is, if you recall, the last section ended with 2 guys going down in a submersible, one of them losing his damn mind and chopping up the other one into little bits and using his blood to paint symbols all over the walls. And Dantec being the person who was chopped up. Yep. They're asking, how do you know that this pile of body parts is Dantec? It's Tanner, like fucking Madden up there with the, pen play-by-play. All right, so you see over here, Colonel. Boom! You got bits of hair. Boom! It's caked in blood. Boom! But you got them coming in here. We're reasonably certain it's hair. That's just...
Pat Summer, thanks, John. You got You got Dan Tech, he's on the ground.
We have a podcast that is about video game novelizations, and we are making sports references. I think we've lost our entire audience.
Well, you know what? Pat Summerall and John Madden were on the John Madden football video game for
That's true.
20 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's got to count for something.
I think that counts for something.
But yeah, I'm so glad when you said it was in the middle. I was like, oh, he highlighted the same thing I did. Like just this, and that's the kind of detached, but not in a like significant psychopathy sort of way, but detached in just like a author wanting to get through the beats kind of thing you're going to deal with in this book a lot. People don't talk like people in this book. They don't react like people do. It's so strange, and this is like a great chapter to introduce you back into the book. If maybe you've put it down for a little while, sat it in the corner of your room, and thought to yourself, "What the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm reading Dead Space Martyr." And then you give yourself a minute, and you come back and you read this chapter, and you get to that point, and you go, "Ah, yes, that's right. That's what.
That is why I put this book down." Yeah,
right. And so the whole chapter is just them discussing this thing that happened. And also, this is also a thing that you're going to be dealing with a lot in this book. Recaps.
So many recaps.
Oh my God! The following two parts of this book, they recap everything that happened so much to the point that I'm convinced that if you did it properly instead of actually writing it all out again, this would be 100 pages long.
This book feels so padded.
Yeah, very much so.
So the next chapter, because I wasn't lying when I said it was like a 2-second chapter.
Oh,
the Colonel and Tanner are having a dumb conversation about hair. And then we get back to Altman.
Yeah, Altman. Ooh, Mary Sue hero, Altman.
Mary Sue hero. He is such a nothing character. There's literally nothing interesting about him. He is the villain of the games, and he is just like, yeah, I know how to do things.
I keep forgetting that. That's the thing. Like, I finished the first Dead Space. You gave me a lowdown on that. Like the video game, rather, not the book.
Yeah.
But I keep forgetting that because most of these characters don't have a lot going for them.
Yeah.
Y'all might remember that in one of the last parts, the Colonel, he's described as being predatory. He's got a predator smile, and that kind of that's his characterization. And he's the military guy from every movie made in 1993 that you've ever seen.
Yep.
The whole Mr. Scientist kind of guy, but he's killing all the scientists or hiring them. But that guy that you've seen, back when it was okay to turn the military guy into the bad guy. Like, think of it in that way. Oh boy, think about that. Like, someday people are going to watch, movies like Suburban Commando and shit like that and be like, ooh, they were kind of... that was a different time. You can't say that about the army,
Yeah.
So it takes forever for you to realize that Altman is meant to be our protagonist in this.
Yeah.
And when you do get to that point, it's I can't speak for you, but for me it was just like, might as well. I guess he's just as fleshed out as anybody else in this book.
I guess he has a girlfriend, so
he's got a girlfriend. That's true.
That's an additional dimension that nobody else has. And I misspoke. He's not the villain of the series. He's just the founder of the Church of Unitology, which are the villains of the series.
Right.
To clarify any lore heads who are already writing their emails.
Tap. Yeah.
Tippity. But yes, Michael Mary Sue Altman, or whatever. What's the male equivalent of a Mary Sue?
I don't know.
It's a Michael Altman.
It's from here on out, it's a Michael Altman.
Gary Stew. I think it's a Gary Stew, but it's Michael.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's Michael Altman from here on out. Chapter 23 is just like Altman being like, I didn't hear from Hammond recently. And the audience knows that Hammond is dead. They're out in the water. They hired this guy, Captain Jesus, another nice man from Mexico who is, talking about how there's bad people out here. And he's got his team, and he's arguing with Scud, the laconic Swede.
Oh yeah. Scud
or Scood. I don't know.
Scood.
What do you think is better, Scud or Scood?
I mean, I like Scud better, but I have to believe that it would be Scood.
Scud, the disposable assassin.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, what a good design. No, it's you raise an interesting point though with Captain Jesus. Like, all the brown people in this book kind of serve to do the same thing that the Romani characters in the old black and white horror films serve to do. Like, they look off into the distance and say, "This is a bad place."
Yeah, a lot of mysticism, abuse of mysticism, and all that stuff in this book. All of any person of color is seemingly subjugated to a role of harbinger,
Yeah, pretty much.
Rather than like a protagonist or anything that does anything interesting.
No, they're part of the scenery. They exist to kind of give you exposition in a foreign accent. That's really what it comes down to.
That's pretty much it.
So these guys have been trying to like capture information like seismographic data and that kind of thing on this pulse that they're all still following. And I do think it's a clever idea. Like, they need to get closer to the crater, so yeah, they hire Jesus, the captain, to take them out there on the idea is that, oh yeah, we're totally going out there to do some fishing, and Jesus notices that they don't even have a worm on a hook.
Yeah.
So like, and military style kind of jackbooted kind of thug guys show up and kind of wave them along and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they get some more data, but it's not enough, man.
It's more
not
data.
Enough.
Not enough. They need more data. Moving on.
Yeah. And by the way, this is all about getting data. This whole fucking, like, the next two parts are basically about, okay, well, the data says this. Well, what do we do with the data? Well, the data suggests we should do that. And it's like, where are the friggin' zombies?
Let's apply for a grant. Oh, yes. Right. That's coming up.
Yeah. All of the excitement of academic rigor coming your way in a Dead Space book.
Would you like academia and bureaucracy in your Dead Space novels?
I'll tell you what, the chapter where Altman isn't sure if he's going to get tenure or not, that really did get my heart jacked. Oof, I will say that.
I was pumping me up. You went before that review board.
Oh God! Could there possibly be anything more stressful than standing before a review board? No, says Dead Space Martyr. And by the way, that part doesn't actually happen, but you can imagine.
Yeah, you can imagine. It could have happened. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We still got plenty of book left. Let's say.
Yeah.
That.
Oh God, we got lots of disappointment to be had. So they're finding this information. They don't know. There's a signal. They're not sure where it's coming from, but it's definitely the crater. And there's a lot of discussion over, is it coming from the center of the crater? Well, I don't know. It might be. It might not be. Maybe it's the center of the crater. Maybe it's not. And it's just like, who cares? Oh my God, who cares? Why does this matter?
Yeah, this entire section was. I believe I was just sighing the entire time.
Yeah.
We got to. There's a lot of back and forth between Altman and Scud about the nature of conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that beautiful, like, if you want to learn about the mores and the very slight differences in what a theory could possibly be or a conclusion could possibly be. Boy, howdy.
We got
the book
stuff for you. Meanwhile, Tanner is jacked up on goofballs.
Oh yes.
He's slapped together as much of the video that what's his name Hennessy had made, and is showing it to the Colonel, and it's just now there's a recap of the thing that we read.
yeah. They literally, and ladies and gentlemen, Kevin is not exaggerating. There are entire pages of him recapping to the Colonel what we watched in live. Well, I don't know if you could call it that, but we read the actual scenes where it happened. He basically just goes, yeah, so he killed the guy. The guy said he was doing this. He said he was doing that. He killed him. He started putting symbols all over the walls. And like it's like, we know. You could have cut this down and just said he explained to him what happened, because we already know what happened. It's and this is not the first nor the last time this is going to happen.
Yeah,
oh my God.
No. So
it
the Colonel
goes on.
The Colonel responds to the video with, and I highlighted this section because it was another example of just like super dumb, super villainy discussion. How many people have seen this? This particular version, 3 or 4 technicians, but it was generally broadcast, so a lot of people have seen different bits of it. No way to say who has seen what. So no point in killing the technicians then, asked the Colonel.
Yeah. Just
apropos of nothing. Standard operating procedure. Just kill them.
Bond villain bullshit. And this is going to be a really, really... you're going to find out how ridiculous this is when you find out just how many people are under the Colonel's employ.
Yeah.
It's just like, how is any of this top secret? Yeah. Oh, and then we get this delightful, to keep the James Bond villain theme going. The Colonel basically, Tanner's kind of shocked. He's like, "Oh my goodness, you would have killed those guys, if you and oh my God, hold on, the cat loves the microphone. He's decided.
Which cat is
Jonesy?
It Jonesy?
Yeah.
Jonesy the terrible muffin.
Jonesy the terrible muffin. He is so big now. He's a monster. Anyway, God, he's ridiculous. Yeah, he's been so pitiful. We went away for the weekend for Emily's birthday, and they just stayed behind, and her best friend came in and fed them and everything like that. And he was just he's got abandonment issues, and he was he's been so just attached at the hip. It's pitiful.
He just wants to be on you wherever you are.
Oh my gosh! Well, yeah, he's my guy. He basically they've split up. Like he's my little guy, and Ripley is Emily's. And
yeah,
Emily at least Jonesy likes to keep his distance. He just needs to be in the same room as you.
Right.
Ripley wants to. I'm convinced she wants to climb inside of Emily's skull. She gets up so close, and she gets right up against Emily's mouth, and I feel like she's trying to force her to swallow her or something. Yeah. It's absurd. She is the funniest cat.
That is the final stage of codependence.
It's pretty bad. These are our COVID kittens. So yeah. The Colonel, just to drive the "I'm a bad guy" point home, informs Tanner. Tanner says, "Are you saying I'm expendable?" And the Colonel gave him a shrewd look. "Don't take this the wrong way," he said. "At this point, you're less expendable than nearly anyone else. But yes, if the circumstances develop in the wrong way, you're expendable. Does that bother you?" "Yes," said Tanner. "Then don't let the circumstances develop in the wrong way," the Colonel said. And then looked at his goddamn chronometer again.
Fucking chronometers. It's a watch.
It's a watch, guys. It's a watch. Oh, my God. So, yeah, just another moment of the Colonel basically hopping around singing Billie Eilish at the top of his lungs, making sure everyone knows that he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to our totally well-developed and polished protagonist, Altman.
Altman and his girlfriend Ada, who we get the nice the male gazy description. I noticed it only because it's like she is the only person who has ever described this way. She yawned and stretched, her body arching. Yeah, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, she's the only woman in the goddamn book. And he managed to just sneak one line in there. Is just like, you really needed to describe her body arching that way.
We don't hear about the body of any of these other characters. We don't know if they're fat or thin or...
There's no description of any physical description of like anybody except for like the Colonel's teeth.
There was one guy at the very, very beginning of the book, and it was so awkward. It was like, it was treated like just a list of attributes that needed to get taken care of. It was like, he's got brown hair, brown eyes, he's about 6 feet tall, 145 pounds, 150 after lunch. Like, it was that kind of, like, bullet list.
Lunch is entirely liquid.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's still, by the way, Altman is still unaware of Hammond's untimely death.
Yeah.
So he's kind of preoccupied with the fact that he hasn't heard from him yet. A little too preoccupied for someone who was literally, he knew for a total of 45 minutes based on the writing. But whatever. Yeah.
And then he gets a phone call from some mystery person, whatever.
Asking, and everybody.
Have you seen the transmission?
Yeah, and everyone in the mystery calls. Every time he gets a mystery call, they're the least intimidating. I'm curious if you managed to pick up anything unusual lately. Intercepted something. Like what? He asked. I can see that you haven't, said the voice quickly. I'm sorry to have wasted your time. And it's like Altman is like, he doesn't want him to get off the phone. He's like, hey, wait, do you mean a signal? Like, no, just, oh my God. It's so awkward.
You'll have to do better than that, Mr. Altman. What?
Mr. Altman.
What?
The fuck does that mean?
What does that mean? He has to do better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
He asked him a clarifying question of like, what exactly are you talking about?
Right.
And it's like, and I just imagine the flip scene of this is like some doofus is like just making phone calls. He just has a list of people to call, and it's just like. He keeps doing the same thing to everybody. He's like, I couldn't get anybody to talk. But they're like, oh, did you ask him if they got like a pulse either? And he's like, oh, I thought we were just supposed to.
I didn't know we had follow up. Fuck, sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
I'll start back at the top of the list.
Yeah, let's start it again. Here, Altman again.
For Altman.
I know that the phone call ended awkwardly, but I was wondering. Yeah, it just and then we get fucking Ada. Who, bless her heart, it's not your fault, Ada. It's not your fault. But Ada basically is worried for her boyfriend. That's really what it comes down to. He's in this weird position. She doesn't want him or, God forbid, her to get hurt on this. And she's like, she starts out as the gentle, kind, and understanding girlfriend. I'm the cool girlfriend,
I'm not like the other girls.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're cool,
Yeah.
I'm cool. And then he won't give her more of the details on the phone call and all the weird shit that's going on. So finally, Michael, she said, her voice stern now, I want to know exactly what's going on. You shouldn't keep secrets from me. You're not in trouble, are you? She asked. I don't think so, he said. If you were in trouble, you'd tell me, right? She said. I'd like to think I would, he said. What do you mean you'd like to think you would? What kind of answer is that? I mean, yes, of course I would. There, she said. That's better. Oh, the stirring sci-fi horror dialogue. None of this is... What the fuck? Like...
Later, the conversation continues. You promise you'll tell me? Yes, he said.
They got something really special going here.
So just to sum up the rest of the dumb chapter is like basically they find out there's going to be a lot of names. There's like 30 names of scientists.
There's so many names of people that just are kind of coming and going.
Yeah, basically everybody was getting the same call, and they're like trying to figure out who has parts of the video, and they start putting it together or whatever, and then Altman's basically they get the video together, and Altman sends it out to he like sends it out to the news, I believe. Is that where he sends it? Yeah, he kind of just like, it's like an anonymous news message. And
they explain to us once again in full detail what's on the video again.
And then Ada and Altman have another stirring debate. And Ada finally reveals more about the stories are changing.
Yeah. This is once again, and we've talked about this before, but again, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So the thing about the legends is that they've been basically the same for hundreds of years. So she reached out and cuffed the side of his head. I thought I told you not to be a smartass, she said, her dark eyes flashing. Which, all right, but they're no longer the same. They changed drastically once the pulse symbol started. That's not how legends work.
That's not a legend. That's not a legend. That's a new thing that they've made up.
That's a new thing. If I have a legend, if I'm talking about Hulk Hogan, if you come to me and said, tell me about Hulk Hogan, and I say, well, back in the day, he was everyone's hero and, blah, 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 the all-American star. And he took on the Ultimate Warrior and he lost to him, but it was like, it was a good loss, blah, blah, blah. And then he became a bad guy. That's a legend. I tell you the legend. And then you say, okay, what's going on with you today? And I say, oh, man, I'll tell you what. I wanted to have a grilled cheese, but there's a cheese shortage in town. That's completely unrelated to the legend of Hulk Hogan, our hero,
my
Lord
grilled
and Savior,
cheese, my grilled cheese,
my grilled cheese sandwich fiasco, which just happened.
Did that happen today? Is that a problem?
I'm really frustrated with the fact that I have nothing but sharp cheddar and it wouldn't melt. It just didn't melt.
It's not good. It's not that. Oh, it's too high of a melting point to get a good grilled cheese.
It was a real pain in the ass. Anyway, it had nothing to do with the legends. Like, that's not how it works. And who does that? You go to somebody, you're like, tell me the legend of how your village started, and they go, okay, well, there was a sea worm, and he kicked up some surf, and it revealed an island, and that's how we ended up on our island. And then you go to another person and go, okay, tell me the legend about how your island came about. And they're like, oh, okay, well, there was a sea worm and it kicked up some surf. And then there was no good cheese for a grilled cheese sandwich. And you're like, my God, the legends are changing.
The legends are changing.
The legends are changing.
Oh, God.
My God, it's just such, nonsense. I don't know how that's even. Now, here's the thing. Maybe some of you are listening to this because we got lots of geeks. We got people who like stories, and geeks are awesome at coming up with explanations for just about any hole in a plot line. So let's say you hear this and it's not so ridiculous and you go, okay, well, to you anyway, because you're like, well, I think what she means is that A, B, C, and D. That's great. And wouldn't it be way more interesting to demonstrate to us what the fuck it means to have a legend change rather than just have that person inform another person?
Right.
Like, it's not good writing no matter what way you slice it. Not just because it makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. And so we get a character reintroduction. In passing. The town drunk who were introduced.
Oh, thank God he's back.
Thank God he's back. He's referenced in passing, but he only talks if I ply him with booze.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
The classy town drunk who only talks if you ply him with the booze, the good stuff.
And talks like he was a fucking like antebellum, barber turned gunfighter. By the way,
we will get to him, but yes, he is. He is. You give him this booze, and suddenly he's like, "Well, I grew up in Northern Virginia."
Right. And it's like, and what was it? He's telling the story. He's telling, and they've done this before, but this is the time that I really thought about it. He talks about the devil's tail once again.
Yeah.
And he talks about, if you touch the tail, they say, you make yourself known to the devil. If the devil knows you, he will try to claim you. If you destroy more than you create, you make yourself known to the devil. Just going on. And then it says, he made that strange symbol at me, a kind of curse, twining his index and middle fingers together.
Does he mean he's crossing your fingers?
Yeah, that strange symbol of crossing your fingers. I wasn't sure what he was doing because I don't think he was trying to tell a fib and go to heaven anyway. Like, they really got to like cool up on like what constitute like the strange and the esoteric here.
No, the Lovecraftian twisting of his fingers. By the way, I like basically the way you played the drunk just now. I was like, he's basically John Seed from
pretty much, yeah,
or Joseph Seed. Like, would you touch the tail of the devil, you will become known to the devil.
I just thinking back on a good video game novelization, I guess. And
the good old days.
The good old days
of last month.
I know. Nightmare. But Ada, the thing she keeps saying is because she wants to take Altman to like meet this town drunk so they can get more stories from the guy, I guess. And she keeps pointing out, she's like, this is all anecdotal, none of this is science, but maybe it'll give us something to work with. Okay, put a pin in that. That was something that I found it comes up to be something pretty interesting down the way.
Putting a pin in that because we are back with good old Tanner. And Tanner and the Colonel are talking about how they're going to deal with the fucking thing. And there's a mention of Lenny Small, the president of Dredger Corp. The vid is originally from Sigmund Bennett. Who is he? Don't forget about it. Doesn't matter.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about it. In fact, most of these names, just don't worry about it. So they're just figuring out what to do, and they decide to just like, they basically, is this when they just decide to release the tape to the press?
The rumors are getting out there, and people are talking anyway. So they're trying to discuss what are they going to do with it, and they basically decide they're going to come clean, quote unquote. Where basically they'll tell a certain level of the truth, and the other they'll kind of hide. This brings me to another example of what I call the horrors of Spider Island. I'm going to explain this. Do you ever watch Mystery Science Theater 3000? Kevin?
Yes, yeah, I do.
Okay, there is one of my favorite episodes of all time. Is their coverage of an old French horror film called The Horrors of Spider Island. It is a great episode, and it is a French horror film that is French. It is super French. It is all about a bunch of babes on an island. It's like two guys end up on an abandoned island with these models / dancers who get somehow their plane goes down and the only place they could be on is this island that has a killer spider on it. Hence the name. Hence the name. Problem is the spider makes up maybe 10% of the movie. Most of it is spent watching these women in bikinis lounge around and dance and flirt with each other. And these two sailors happen upon the island and they're fighting amongst themselves for the women, and the women are fighting amongst themselves for the men. And every now and then, when something comes up that couldn't be further from a horror movie, one of the cast members of MST3K would go, "The Horrors of Spider Island!" And that's what it made me think of. There's so many moments in this book where it's like Dead Space Martyr. We're discussing a cover-up.
You know, and that's what Dead Space Martyr.
Yay. They start going, what matters is what you say about it, says the Colonel. You can't say that it's a hoax, because that just gives the conspiracy junkies fuel for their fire. So tell as much of the truth as you can without damaging us. The horrors of Spider Island! Like, what the fuck? What is this based on? Like, if you played the game, there would have been, if you played the game of Dead Space and started reading this book without realizing immediately that it was a novelization, there would have been little moments that you've gone, oh, well that's Dead Space, right? I feel like I'm, and then as it goes on, you would have assumed it's some sort of business thriller, cover-ups and politics and all that kind of shit.
It's like, just imagine, if you will, John Grissom was hired to write a business white-collar legal thriller about the doings of a drilling operation in the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And except John Grissom got really fucking stoned on Quaaludes, and then he wrote it. And they published the first draft. Yeah. That's this book. This is frustrating. And the chapter, basically the whole chapter is them discussing how they're going to pull off this cover up. It has nothing to do with spooky good times. It's just, how are we going to stay afloat? Like, the next chapter might as well be them like, how do we remain solvent? I was about to say, how are we going to remain solvent?
Right. It just, that's exactly what it is. The only thing that saves this entire chapter is in the final, 3 sentences of it, when they ask the Colonel who they're going to contact to talk to the military to help them get out of this bind. And it says, the Colonel gave another predatory smile. You've already contacted them, he said, and pointed both thumbs at his own chest. You're already working with him. This guy. He doesn't say this guy to be there, but that's what he means.
Who has 2 thumbs and is a colonel in charge of projects like this? This guy.
This guy. My God. That's the only thing that saved that chapter, if you can call it being saved.
Wasn't your dad a colonel?
What's that?
Wasn't your dad a colonel?
He was, yeah. He was very. That's a colonel thing. He was very fond.
He was very fond.
Both thumbs. This guy, this colonel, is technically what you're supposed to say. But yeah. But now, did you miss Altman?
Did I miss him?
Did you miss him? Because he's back.
He's back, and he's being arrested or something. I don't know.
Or something. Yeah.
There's some dudes, and one of them calls him Miguel Altman, and he's now it's Michael. And
yeah. I think even the whitest guy in America would have figured out that Miguel means Michael. So please, let's write Mexican characters at least as smart as the dumbest white guy in America.
Yeah. And then there's at one point where they call out the Mexican guy's accent. Do you know Charles Hammond? The tall man asked. His voice was flat and uninflected. He pronounced Charles as if it had 2 full syllables. Charles. Now, listen, motherfucker. The Spanish language has names like Gonzalez. I think they can figure out the LES part. Like, what the fuck is... Like, I'm not interested in looking for any little piece of, something from a book that's 15 years old, to point out that it's politically incorrect or whatever. But that's, something that I'm like, that's kind of racist. A Mexican guy would look at the word Charles and go, oh, this must be Charles. What the fuck? That part was so weird. And it turns this whole dialogue. It's basically he's being interrogated by these 2 guys, Gallo and Ramos, and it's like it's this weird like shtick, this shticky thing he's got going on where
are all of the goons and henchmen in this book just fucking like 1930s style cartoon mobsters.
They alternate between Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern.
Right.
In Home Alone. It's basically just
it's important with Joe Pesci especially to be like, we're talking about Home Alone here, by the way.
Not Goodfellas. He says he met him, Gallo, says Ramos. What do you think that means? The tall man, Gallo, ignored Ramos. How well did you know him? He asked Altman. Not very well, said Altman. We met once. He says they met only once, Gallo, said Ramos, and sucked on his cigarette again. Like, what?
Who's on first? That's what I'm asking you.
It's like these are are these the goons from Chinatown that cut Jack Nicholson's nose?
It's what happens to a rat. Like, what the fuck?
Is it?
And these aren't even, and by the way, we're not going to get a mask torn off and find out that this is Terry, Tommy, Tony, and whatever, the T triplets that we met last episode. No, these are completely new, just stupid, shticky criminals. Like, this is so weird.
Yeah, we'll get back in touch if we need you, said Gallo. This is after like 3 pages. So the book is short when it shouldn't be, and long when it absolutely doesn't need to be. There's a really, I am not going to recap this entire conversation between Gallo, Ramos, and Altman, because it's basically just talking about what happened to Hammond again. And I don't care.
You know what happened? You know what? All you needed to write. This is pages long. It is a long. You're absolutely right. It's one of the longer chapters that we have read in this book at this point, and it's mostly in service at this point of telling Altman that Hammond is dead. So all we needed was Altman waking up. There are these goons in there. They're threatening him, and then they go. And then someone writes. They told him that Hammond was dead. Altman was shocked. The end. That's all you need. But it's pages upon pages of it.
Yep.
And then they leave.
They leave.
And then they leave.
And then they leave. And I don't remember if we ever see them again.
I don't think we do. Basically, they find out that they get whatever information from him that they were hoping for. Because they're trying to find out what his connection to Hammond was, essentially. And they find out there really isn't one. Which means that this is a pointless exchange. This should have been cut.
Yeah. So the next things that happen are also things that could have been cut or compressed to like a couple sentences. All right. Sure. I'm going to run through them real quick.
Do it.
So they leave, and Field comes in and says, hey, look at the news. And Dredger Corps is doing the thing that they said that they would do last chapter. Whatever. Yeah. Moving on. The end. He goes, that's it. He goes home. Ada is gone. But then Ada comes home. Ooh, yeah. I mean, it was tense. It was tense for a sentence. And then she introduces him to Chava, who does who in the spirit of recaps, does the recap of the first scene of the book.
Yep.
And the balloon man burned very nice. And they fucking do the thing.
Gives him pages long reminder. Yeah. Oh, right.
Pages long recaps of the thing. And then we're back with Tanner, who is not having a good time.
Nope. Nope. Now we're back. Tanner. He's drinking. He's going to bed.
He's drinking. He's going to bed, and he's just thinking about. He gets a call from a reporter, and he hangs up, and he's drinking whiskey and taking sleeping pills, which like that is the stereotypical, just not a good move.
Yeah, just a terrific combination of processes there. Yeah, lovely. And they've just released the cover-up thing. He's not feeling real good about it. And he's getting the call from someone who supposedly is a reporter, I suppose.
Yeah. And then suddenly it's a call from Dantec.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He has a little conversation. Now this scene is like this is probably the best, one of the best death scenes in the entire book.
I actually will say that this part is not half bad.
This is not half bad because of it's very subtle in like what the implication is of what's happening.
Yeah. So you got you have the responsibility of hammering through the nonsensical parts. Why don't you enjoy yourself and walk us through this part that's actually pretty good.
Tanner is after he hangs up with the reporter and he's just like he turns the light back on. There's another phone call and the call says it's coming from Dantec, and he answers the phone. But instead of just on the phone, Dantec is there, but his lips are blue. It's like he's losing oxygen. His skin is white, almost bloodless, and basically this Dantec hallucination is telling Tanner that he's running out of oxygen. Now, this is a callback to when these two characters first met. It's literally the only impertinent backstory in the entire goddamn book. Yeah. Is that Dantec saved Tanner during the Moon Wars. During the Moon Wars, Dantec saved Tanner during those battles by supplying him with oxygen. And now the situation is reversed. This ghost of Dantec is telling Tanner that I need oxygen from you. And now Tanner starts hallucinating that he has an oxygen tank on. And Dantec says, just make a slit in the breathing tube. And so he grabs his pocket knife and he makes a nice long cut and in his across the breathing tube.
Right.
And then he made a long horizontal cut, almost cutting the tube right in half. All right, Tanner said, quickly hand it to me. His voice sounded strange, something wrong with his vocal cords. He coughed, spat blood. The blanket in front of him seemed covered in pink mist. He looked down and saw that his chest was coursing with rivulets of blood. And then the ghost of Dantec says, you should have left it down there where it was safe. You shouldn't have tried to understand it. And then like Tanner dies thinking he's still like, it says air keeps leaking out, but it's not air. It's not air. It's blood. He basically slit his own throat with this knife thinking that he was cutting the breathing tube. And that's picture wrap on Tanner.
That's it. And I agree. I think this is I had to go back and read it again. It actually, in a book filled with almost no subtle moments. In fact, it's so unsubtle that they feel the need to repeat various parts of the book back to you over and over again. They actually give us a kind of horrifying and subtly done death scene.
Yeah. It was nice. Thank you, BK.
Thank you.
Throwing us a bone in this book. Pretty good. Yeah. Chapter 29. Who wants more recaps?
Did you guys miss Chava? I didn't miss him, but maybe someone did.
This podcast is going to be called Oops, All Recaps.
All recaps.
Chapter 29 is basically Chava telling them more about the balloon man.
Yeah, the balloon man.
And then it's like there's more. It's 3 parts. It's balloon man. We know what happened to the balloon man. Whatever. Yeah. Who cares? Another discussion about between Altman and Ada of like the stories are changing. Fucking enough.
And the stories are changing, and I still love you, and I promise, and I nothing's gonna, no one's gonna get hurt or whatever. Like it's the whole like, promise me, Michael. She said, promise me. He said, I can't. Why not? Look, he said, take her by the shoulders. You were the one who brought Chava to me. I didn't ask you to do that. And every new thing I hear makes it seem stranger and stranger. I need to figure out what's going on. And we get a moment at the end. I do love you, he said. That's not what this is about. She pouted, which, come on. Finally, she put her arms around his neck. I don't want to lose you, Michael, she said. You won't lose me, he said. I promise. Oh my God, we get it.
This scene is acted out in my head. Is it Waiting for Guffman, where Catherine O'Hara's character is talking about her acting method, where she closes her eyes as she delivers her line, and then looks away when she's not delivering her line.
I mean, my God, no, I think you fucking nailed it. Like, that's the only way you can imagine it. It's so, like, we get it. Oh my God, you don't want to lose each other. You don't want something bad to happen. Oh my God, that's enough.
And now we get our we get to finally meet the antebellum drunk, who tells a really, really long story about that. And this is good information. It's super long. It takes forever to kind of like get through it, but basically.
Well, here's the thing: we don't get to that good information until after like they've had a discussion of like the meanings of their names and the heritage of them. Oh,
right. Yes.
Like
the drunk's hobby is names.
Yeah, so he's like, that's a German name, right? Interesting. And your name's Hebrew. Interesting. And where are you from? Oh, my mother was part Indian. Interesting. Bengali? No, I'm saying a politically incorrect way of talking about a First Nation person. Oh, interesting. And it's just like pages upon pages of them discussing their 23andMe bullshit. Until finally he comes in and is like, all right, I'm going to tell you about the tail of the devil. By the way, he's the only drunk in Mexico, apparently.
Only drunk. He is the drunk.
The drunk. He's Mexico's drunk. That's got to be a rough job. Oh, my God.
He is drinking all the drinks. And basically this guy gives his version of the Indianapolis speech.
Yeah, pretty much.
To basically the point of the story is, even though they burned a body on the beach earlier, that's not the only body that they've ever burned. It's happened several times before.
It's happened before, and he knows that it's connected to the people, that this thing used to be a person, basically.
Like, that would have been good information to know. And then
they start heading home. They're freaked out, and they head home, and Altman all he wants to do is get in bed and just watch some shitty TV or something like that and relax. Which, again, any time that this writer tells us that, like, he's your face was something fucked up, and they basically just like, someone mysterious calls you and wants to meet at a bar, and they go, no thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then like something weird as fuck happens, and I always buy his writing when he's talking about people dealing with the aftermath of this shit, because he's just like, he just wants to get. I would have been surprised if he said he just wanted to take a hot bath and soak. He just wants to be left alone, and he turns on the TV, and immediately. He gets notification that William Tanner, manager for Dredger Court, Chicxulub, formerly known as Equidine, was found dead this morning in apparent suicide. So he's like, great, awesome. This is a great end to my day.
I'm very, very relaxed now.
I'm very feeling good. And he like turns it on, hears that, turns it off, and then he just doesn't. And this is also relatable. I think I probably would have done the same thing. He just chooses not to tell Ada.
You're like, we're not gonna get into that.
You know what? Maybe I'll bring this up later. Maybe not. We've had a hell of a day. I'm not gonna bring up my coworker / friend who committed suicide to just be the blood covered maraschino cherry on the top of this fucking sundae.
Right.
So
Anyway, new character.
Give me 1 second, real quick, before we can grab a drink, real quick. Did you know that they make White Claws that are double the alcohol level now?
Wow.
They're disgusting.
But you're drinking it anyway.
And they get the job done. And I paid for them, didn't I?
Paid for them.
Blood orange. Good. Okay.
Lenny Small. President of Dredger Corps. He gets a point of view chapter. Everybody gets a point of view chapter.
You get one, and you get one, and you get one.
We're introduced to Craig Markov, who I don't know is he the colonel, or are we getting a name for the colonel now, or is he a completely distinct character?
I'm so glad that you asked that, because I also wonder that. This is the first time. The colonel is always just the colonel.
And the colonel is never heard from again. There is no more colonel. There is now Craig Markov.
And there's now Craig Markov. They make a point of saying that he's a military guy.
Yep. Government intelligence.
He acts the same way. He's the same level of like villainous dickweed.
Yep.
That we got from the colonel. I think it must be the colonel.
Yeah. I guess.
Okay.
Sure.
Fine.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Tanner's dead.
Tanner's dead.
We're there. The conversation is basically Markov recapping to Lenny that Tanner is dead, and
once again we get too much dialogue, where it's like he literally says they're like having an argument back and forth about. At first, it kind of makes sense because they're like, he killed himself? Are you sure? Yeah, I know. It doesn't quite make sense. That's fine. But then they get into like...
He slit his own throat.
They're like, you're going to have to say something. I'm going to give you the official story, like our official line, in case anyone asks you. And he says, I have a script for you, said Markov. Things you can say and can't say about this death. I want you to memorize it. Word for word, I've never been much good at memorization. It'll sound canned. The gist is fine, said Markov. Put it in your own words. Who cares? Oh my God, who cares? Just be like, okay, yeah, we'll tell you what to say. Got it. That's all you need.
Markov.
That's all you need.
Markov then takes President Small to a meeting of Toastmasters International. And there's a whole section on President Small's rising through the ranks of Toastmasters.
Absolutely,
it's thoroughly entertaining. It actually could be like an Oscar bait movie if you just adapted that part of it and left out everything else.
He makes it to the top with a charming but sad tale about the time that he got his father's trust after stealing $20 from his dad's wallet and giving it back to him only after he'd finally passed. Just a real heartwarming few chapters here.
Yeah. And then the final chapter is Altman and the boys getting their beers on, and the boys, and they are literally just talking about getting a grant to find out what the signal is. And that's how that's how part 3 ends, is a discussion of getting a grant to figure this out. That is the end of the 3rd part of the book. I might sound like I am being facetious. I am not. That is just how it ends. This is Dead Space. Why are you talking about grants?
It ends with them being visibly excited, if you'll excuse the use of that term, over the concept of like, hey, we could do some more research. We could get a grant. And it literally ends with Altman saying, let's get to work. So I'm sure that immediately following this, they're going to get started and will not immediately be sidetracked.
No.
Because they ended on such a strong note. The horrors of Spider Island. Good God. remind you guys, that part 3, was called The Tightening of the Noose.
The Tightening of the Noose.
With that's well, just nowadays, grant money is few and far between. It's not like the academic landscape of 1993, my young buck.
It is a very well tapped well.
God. So that's part 3.
No blood from that stone.
None. You couldn't grind that stone down.
And then there's a deleted chapter, apparently, immediately after this, where they talk about their favorite New Yorker cartoons.
Oh, God. And they describe them in detail. It's crazy. You don't need to actually... Have you ever experienced the joy of not having to have your brain and your eyes all befuddled by the visualizations of a cartoon, and instead having someone describe all of the finer details and then reading the hilarious caption to you?
A joy that I really wish to be passed upon my countenance someday.
I mean, that's the dream, my friend.
That's the dream.
That is the dream. Oh my God.
So that took a lot of energy and time. This man sat down
at a fucking computer and wrote this out and turned in the chapters and was somehow fine with it. He turned it into his editor. It was like, yeah, this is the chapter where they're discussing their grant opportunities. Bitch. Like, he was pumped. How did and an editor looked at it. An editor looked at it and said, seems good to me.
Bitch.
This bitch. This displays all the gravitas that I need in my horror fiction.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. This is the thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the thing. Kevin and I have been doing this a long time, and I'm not podcasting specifically, but Kevin and I's entire friendship started in a room where we were sitting around a table trying to put something together and make it funny. That was how we began our relationship together. And I still surprise myself when we sit down and go, oh man, I don't know. Like, we read a chapter or we read a section of the book, we're getting ready for an episode, and one of us will text the other one and go, do you think we have enough material? I just don't. I feel like this thing is just like this part was so boring. And I'm worried that we're not going to have enough material to really flesh this thing out. And then there's a part of me that goes, you know what? We'll be fine.
We'll be good.
We have endless supplies of incredulity.
Oh, just piles of incredulity.
It is the stuff that can't fit in the office ends up in the shed out back. We stack up the incredulity like hardwood around here. It is just, we will be warm all winter long.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
It's only gonna get better.
Whee!
Woo!
Now,
right.
I will say that in the following part, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, we got more ghosts.
Oh, gosh, more ghosts. And if you're not afraid of those ghosts, give us a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, or podcasts, whichever you're using to listen to this fine show. And follow us on whatever platform you choose. And please follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. Share us with your friends, your family, your pets, your Pokemon. Maybe you could even open up your Pokemon card collection and be like, hey, listen to this podcast.
Make sure they've evolved at least once, though. I feel like our general disposition is not great for like the youngling Pokemon.
Not right for a Pikachu. Okay for a Raichu.
Perfect. Exactly. And that is the extent of my Pokemon knowledge.
Anyway, you've been listening to PixelLit. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. You know what? We made that fun. Once again, we made that fun.